In recent months, Nigerians have faced the burden of an increasingly challenging economic climate as the country grapples with various factors impacting its economy. The rise in the cost of food is leaving families struggling to put meals on the table. The cost of essential food items such as grains, vegetables, and meat has risen, placing an unprecedented strain on the already stretched budgets of individuals and households across the nation. Many factors are at play here, from supply chain disruptions and inflation to increased production costs and fluctuations in global commodity prices. These collective challenges have led to a staggering surge in the cost of living for everyday Nigerians. While farmers are the backbone of the agricultural sector, they too are feeling the pressure. But amidst the challenges there is hope. Experts and policymakers are working tirelessly to address these issues head-on through innovative strategies to boost our food production, improve supply chains, and create a more inclusive and robust economy where no Nigerian is left behind. Tonight, we delve into the pressing issue that affects every citizen, the state of the economy, and the rising cost of food in Nigeria. What way out? This is Nigeria Today, and I am your carrier, Clinton. Welcome. Now, joining me in the studio to, shed light on the challenges, potential solutions, and implications of, the topic, the economy, is Dr. Emeka Okengu. He's a development economist. You're welcome to Nigeria Today.
Pleasure. Good evening. Good evening, Nigerians.
Doc, you had the introduction there, and no, I remember in the past, we used to have periods when we say this season we'll have quite a lot of this particular kind of food. Take for instance, rainy season, we have vegetables, we have such as ugu, okra, and the rest of even corn. We eat a lot of them, and because they are cheap, during that period, some families, some parents will say, oh, let us eat it as much as possible because it's very cheap, to afford during that period. So when the season is over, it becomes a little bit more expensive. But this period, for some time now, it's not happening like that. You see that even seasons come, seasons go, prices of commodities, food commodities are very, very expensive, alarmingly expensive. Doc, this kind of, I have no choice but to ask, what are we up against here?
Okay, we're up against three very major factors. One is climate disruptions, which is primary. Two is population explosion, which again is a major factor. And the third one is our fixation on seasons, okay, as against technology to support our food production or food security. What am I talking about? Let me take your narrative. In the days you had a lot of corn, to eat, where the days that the weather patterns were a little more stable. So you actually could tell, when the rains will start and predict fairly accurately when it was going to be stopping. But because of these climate disruptions and climate change, you have a lot of, disruptions in every other thing that has to do, that is driven by climatic conditions, or climatic conditions as they may. Migrations are no longer as fluid as they used to be, because if you were old enough, to have read the book they call The Burning Grass, okay, by Sikwe Nekwensi. He was basically talking about the migration of cattle from the Sahel, how they came, and then when they started burning the grasses, they went back, to where they came from, where they'll now be meeting, new grass or new shrubs. So, but because we've not identified that we'll have more mouths to feed, okay, and we are not producing enough to be able to feed these mouths. We are also not identifying that another very major challenge is our food production systems. how are we producing food? What are we using to produce food? But somebody has come to ask me, oh, everybody says that biotechnology is a wrong thing and a wrong way to go. And I said, no, I think we're also having a lot of misconceptions, okay, about what really we need at this point in time. So I would think that these are the three major factors. If you permit me to say so.
Well, now, still, on the example I started with, each time I go to the market to, get something from our local our traders, take for instance the ugu seller, and you ask how much is this, and the person says, oh, it is this X amount of, this is the amount to sell it, and you scream, this is expensive. They'll tell you the dollar has risen. So I keep wondering, what is the relationship between dollar and ugu and kwili in the market? And
the relationship is so intrinsic and so clear. It is alarming, because what you see is ugu, okay, but you have not seen the fertilizer that went into the ground. You have not seen the pesticides that went into the ground. You have not seen the hoe that went into the ground. Okay, all these are dollarized. Okay, so by the time you buy a bag of fertilizer for probably 20-something or 30-something, I don't know how much it goes for now, maybe even 10,000, as against when you are buying it for 300 naira. Okay, and know that the first law of production is that you transfer the cost to the consumer. All right, so whereas you're looking at that ugu your mother used to probably hold you by hand and go to the village market, and then you're getting a basket for probably 10 naira. Now the first thing is the production cost. Okay, the second thing is transportation. Now a lot of these ugu are not grown within where you live. Okay, so even if we are living in Kuje or in area 1 and the ugu was going to be coming from Kuje, now the cost of transporting, this is the second added cost now. Okay, and then you talk about, I don't know what market you go to now. Let even be the local markets that everybody goes to. Way back in those days, you already saw people who are going to be taking tax and rates. Now you're also talking about the taxes and rates that those people need to pay to be able to even sit in the market. So all these factors, and worst of all, you are not increasing production. Okay, you are still waiting for rain to fall and the rain is not falling. Okay, you're not increasing technologies to be able to improve on your seedlings. You're probably still, waiting for somebody to bring you seedlings from Calabar or seedlings from Umuahia or seedlings from Mumbise and all sorts. And so when you're talking about, protecting food security, the first thing that you must take into consideration is what they call volume. Because the moment you do not have volume, okay, you're going to be creating scarcity. And one thing that, drives up prices, is basic economics, is scarcity. All right? If they say, oh, the season has gone, and then you find out that there was never a season anymore, okay, because when you thought was the season ugu was supposed to be there, the rains either didn't come too early, they came too heavy, they came too little, the floods came, all manners of things. That's what I started by saying to you, that the most important factor, okay, that we've not been able to confront, and other people have confronted and overcome, is, or managed really, through what you call mitigation and adaptation, is climate change. It is at the middle of everything that is happening to our food systems.
Now, the CBN recently commenced a clearing of backlog of forex, the owed to creditors, talking about the banks and the rest of them. Now, what impact will this have on the cost of food in the market? Because you rightly said dollar has everything, intrinsic function.
But I don't know how paying airlines the backlogs we owe them would impact on food. Okay, now, you see, what you need to do is to shore up your naira so that it can be able to compete a little bit against the dollar. Because the naira used to be stronger than the dollar before. The naira used to be stronger than the pound. You could actually trade naira in the streets, high streets of London. So what makes for a currency to be strong is what the currency brings to the market or to the table, if you may. And this is where productivity comes in. At the point in time that naira, was stronger than the dollar, what were we doing? We were classified as one of the biggest exporters of, agro products. So people were ready to take, your products. And I mean, look at, I'll give you a typical example of how a powerful currency can actually protect, look at the Russian ruble. At the point in time, they started pushing Russia back. They said, okay, we're no longer going to be selling our gas in any other currency that's not the ruble. Now, have you heard that the ruble is declining in value? Okay, now the Kenyans are saying we're no longer going to be selling oil, in any other dollar apart from the Kenyan shilling. Yes, they have their challenges, but are you seeing them dipping? But what Ghana did was to do what they call redenomination. By removing 00s and adding 00s, and all of a sudden they said, oh, 1 CD has become $100 or something. After 6 months, what happened? That's what they call the fire brigade approach. So if you're not, looking at it from the very basic point of looking at your production systems, what policies, what programs, what technologies, what outputs do you have against your known population? Okay, because what we've seemed to be doing in these countries is that anybody wakes up and says to you, oh, based on 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 indicators, oh, I'm sure we're 225 million, which is a new figure I see being banded around now. And everybody will catch up to it. I mean, the next time you're reading news, the next you'll be saying is, oh, over the population of 225 million Nigerians, And nobody has ever questioned to say, how can you, based on assumptions, how can you begin to plan, based on postulations and assumptions? So another very key, factor that we seem to be missing in trying to actually address what our problems are is, for instance, how many people live in Abuja? I would ask, this is a television station, do you know? Have you done any statistics? Have you done any mapping? Now, if you have a situation where you have transformers blowing almost on a weekly basis, oh, the transformer has blown, if you're under it, you shout that God has saved you. But have you ever bothered to find out if, it is because there's been a lot of, population or people influx into the area? So this, what I'm trying to say to you, Eukarya, is that the problem we have as a country, okay, is that we do not have any cogent, reliable, structured planning process that is data-based.
Okay, you've talked so much about what we lack or what we ought to be doing. Now, faced with this growing population, you mentioned is one of the factors that's affecting the costs of living or cost of food in the market. Now, how do we, faced with these challenges, how do we achieve food security?
Technology. Nothing. There is no rocket science. Technology. The moment you put in technology, okay, you are able to increase your production, okay, both in time and value, okay. You're able to expand your operations, all right. I mean, there are battery cages now that can be able to they're automated to feed 1 million birds by precision feeding. Nobody needs, way back in those days, you will need to go and carry, and then be pouring in and bringing out and pouring and bringing out. And then even with biodiversity is not even encouraged, because, you find out that a lot of these animals can actually get sick because of their contact with human beings. All right? But the moment you put them and then you have technology giving water when water is supposed to be given, you don't have to sleep off and then somebody starts, knocking you on the head to say, did you feed the chicks or did you feed the animals or did you water the birds? The moment you put in this technology, and this is why some countries, a country like Israel, with every challenge they have vis-a-vis their land, they're producing enough food to feed everybody in that region. This is why South Africa, with all its challenges of land, okay, are producing everything you're buying in a ShopRite, all the fruits and vegetables that you go there to buy, and you're screaming that this bell pepper and carrots and this and apples and all that, they are grown in South Africa that has less than 20% of its land arable. And yet we have over 65 or 80% of us no natural disaster. So every day we keep talking about our lush agricultural lands, our youthful population. Oh, people go back to the farm. Now, people who do farm that promote food security, you carry address like you to go to their farms. In fact, some of them wear, white cloths, and they get into a tractor that's automated and press it. And by the time you finish, you come out and then just dust your feet and then continue what you're doing. That's the kind of farming that can assure food security. Okay, not to tell somebody to carry a knife and basket and a hoe, and then you say he's a farmer. No, he's not.
Thank you very much. This is still Nigeria Today, and we'll go to the street now to hear Nigerians on the state of the economy and the rising cost of food, as put together by Thomas Ogbetere. Don't go away.
Let me say, the food we buy from the carton. Before, the quantity was large and the price was not that high. But now, you want to buy 500 naira food, it's like food of 150 of before, and it's very expensive. Even a small child self, it won't satisfy the child. And let's talk about the maize. We plant maize, corn, guinea corn and the rest, but the price in the market is very high.
And rice is per mudu is 1,700. Please let them sit down at least to the former higher. Before is 700. Now we are buying it 1,700. We are buying half 750. It's too expensive. Let them bring it down, please. A mudu of gari, imagine 700, and we are buying it 300 before.
Last week I bought egg 100 naira, and yesterday I went to buy it. It was 120. So the things are going high. Even this spaghetti, I bought it at a rate of 450, and I went back to buy it. It was 550. That time it was last week. So the things are going high.
Things that you can afford with little money then, now, even if you take 20,000 naira to the market, you won't come back with anything reasonable. Okay, like we now, we are students. Assuming I'm going to school now, they give me 20,000 naira. What will I use it to do? It won't even sort me out for the whole of a week.
It's biting everybody. It's biting everybody all over the world, not only Nigerian. Because those who are in the village, they feel part of the cost. Rice now is now 50 something. Someone cannot afford it again.
Welcome back. This is still Nigeria Today, and we are looking at the state of the economy, the rising cost of food. And of course, an economist is here with me in the studio, Dr. Emeka Okengu. Now, you had the lamentation of people out there. It's not different with anybody at all. Everybody have their own, every person, has his or her own experience. Now, how can the average Nigerian survive the rising costs of food?
Well, like one of the respondents said, this is a global phenomenon. Okay, it's like you said in your intro, the global supply, chain. There's a lot of disruptions. Okay, the wars right now in Russia, Ukraine, and then even the Israeli, Palestinian, war could actually even worsen, because of the Suez Canal. So it's not going to get any better. But necessity, okay, is the mother of invention. And sometimes you can begin to do, the very little you can do to be able to help yourself.
Like?
I'll give you a typical example with me, okay? Where I live, I have over 200 tubers of yam, growing in bags, okay? And alongside it, I have a few other vegetables here and there. Now, I'm not trying to say that it's going to greatly, remove whatever challenges. This cost of things are getting higher. People need to be a little bit more circumspect in their expenditure patterns. I mean, the discipline has to come in now. You're not only talking about fuel, you're talking about the cost of, energy too, cost of electricity, cost of fuel, cost of diesel. Everything is on the rooftop. So sometimes you need to plan, how you can be able to move around. All right. That will be the first thing. Cut down on whatever it is you're doing. However, the question will be, okay, you're cutting because you have. Now, what about those who do not have at all? And this is where the urban-rural migration must begin to happen. All right? Yeah, but it must happen with people thinking it's true. Okay? You must not live in the city. If living in the city is going to cost you your marriage, you're going to get frustrated, you're going to be frustrating people around you. You must not buy clothes every Christmas for your children. I'm just trying for us to be real here. It's not, it can only get better. You mustn't wear new clothes every day. We need to do what you call a reality check. And, you mustn't also eat 3 times a day. It was a pattern that started evolving, okay? You needed to eat breakfast, or you needed to eat lunch, and you needed to eat dinner. For some of us who might understand what they call the 010, okay, as an undergraduate, and it wasn't as if we were eating any good meal when we were even having the one. I schooled in University of Nigerian Soccer, and that's when I fell in love with Oba, okay? And I'm saying this on national television, okay? So sometimes, like the student who says, oh, my mother, how is it going to survive me for 1 week? You don't need to eat meat every time. Trust me. We must begin to, when you say, cut your coats according to your size. And I said, cut it according to your clothes, okay? Point is that it's not getting any easier. I mean, if I open my phone up, for you, sometimes I want to wonder, is this some kind of temptation from God? I get on an average of every day, and some people will call me and they just start crying. Some people will call me and say, oh, they're not even looking for 10,000 or 5,000. Some people will call me and say that it's become very hopeless. And like I keep saying to them, I say, look down for where you are. What little thing can you be able to do? A long time ago, if you know me a little well, I've always loved, producing my own food. And in spite of the fact that I have, a small resource center, in where I'm living now, okay, it's just I'm not allowed to show you. I have videos of my house where I am planting ugu that you talked about, some other vegetables that you talked about, peppers in my house. And I'm not digging up the earth to do it. So if anybody needs to survive, there's no need for everybody to. If you guys have a cluster of staff that live in a particular location, I don't see why on a weekly basis everybody cannot contribute money and put fuel in one person's car and then use that car to come to work and go back. Now, this is where wisdom, okay, begins to drive your reasoning. This is where if you drink a bottle of beer or 2 every day and you want to go and hang out, you might just, convert that money into maybe 1 or 2 modus of gari until this blows over. But in doing so, I think what's important for people to do is that let them run away from melancholy. Okay, there is no witch or wizard that is taking anybody's destinies away. There is no village people that are attacking you. It is a global phenomenon. And if we can be able to, be a little bit more circumspect, a little bit more forward, we'll get over it. I'd come here to ask why NTA does not have a poultry. Why doesn't NTA have a staff farm?
maybe would
You know, see, you have a lot
consult
of
you to
able
come
people.
and
No, I'm
take
saying
us
it
on
on
that.
TV. Your people are listening to me.
Yes.
So why wouldn't you have a
We'll
cooperative that
invite
can
you to
take
come and- to
that
come
can
and
take
do
and can
that
start
for us.
planting yams that you can share and beans?
No problem, Dr. Okengwu. Don't worry, we'll call you so that you help
I
us
hope
out
I
with
hope
that.
you tell your management that they're going to
I
pay.
will. And that wraps it up for tonight's episode of Nigeria Today. Very big thank you to our guest, Dr. Emeka Okengwu, development economist. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your time with us.
Pleasure to be here.
And thank you for being part of the program. Don't forget, Nigeria Today is weekday at 7:30 on NTA News 24. You can watch this another episode on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. Once again, thank you for watching. I am Ikaria Clinton. Have a wonderful weekend.